Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to us here at USA Global TV and Radio, where today our show is Authentic Achievements, and we are delighted to have you with us. Today, we're actually going to be joined by a special guest, a lovely lady who I met on my other platform. Her name is Diamond Drip. She's award-winning speaker whose journey has been featured on KQED Radio News, On Stage Plus Television, New York Weekly, and loads of podcasts. With a background in visual communications, business strategy, and a passion for personal growth, Diamond brings a unique blend of creativity, expertise, and energy to every conversation. And her mission is helping women break free from fear and self-doubt and step boldly into their power. Using tools like human design and Gene Keys, she guides folks to trust their intuition, embrace authenticity, and unlock their full potential. And as she loves to say, the limit does not exist, but fear will make you think it does. I love the work that she's doing, and I know we're in for a really insightful chat. So, Diamond, welcome.
So good to be here. Hi.
I'm so good to have you here. And I know from our last conversation, it was packed with insight and actions that people can take, because we often are our own worst enemy, aren't we? We get in our own way. So can you start by sharing with the audience a little bit more about you and your journey, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I have been an entrepreneur for about 5 years. And before that, I did all of the things that they say you should do in order to be successful, right? You go to school, you get the good grades, you get the good job, college, then job, then retirement, all the things. And I found that while the status quo worked for some people, especially when I got into business, it didn't work for me. And that really set me on this professional path to find my business superpower, my unique value proposition, if you will. And personally, in August of 2022, I had gone through a psilocybin clinical trial that healed my depression. So I had connected with my higher self, and I wanted to try to find ways to stay connected with source, with my higher self, as I navigated this 3D world. So it was the meeting point of both of these journeys that came together when I found the tools that I use now. And it makes life make sense. Like, that's the best way that I can put it. And it is my absolute joy to introduce people to these tools a lot of the times, or shift their perspective about what they think they know and how to use them.
I love that, because we do sometimes get stuck with what we think we know, or what we've been told, what we've been, we think success looks a particular way because that's the way we've been told, and we've been brought up with a set of beliefs, and we believe them to be true because they're our beliefs, but they don't always serve us, do they? They don't always they don't always make life make sense. And I think for me, one of the things that I've learned on the journey is that it only really makes sense in the rearview mirror. It's only when you look back and you go, right, okay, so that's why that happened, or that's why I had to learn that, or that's why. And so when I find myself not understanding, I'll go, oh, it makes sense one day. I'll look back at this, and this will make sense. But I love that actually what you're doing with your work is helping people to make it make sense as they're going through the journey. Would that be fair?
That is extremely fair, because these tools, they help shift that time between whatever the stimulus is, whether it's the person, whether it's the environment, whether it was that person cutting you off in traffic, whatever, and the reaction. So it's in that small amount of time. For everyone it's different, but it's in that small amount of time between like what happens and what they do that these tools really start to kick in. I'll give the perfect example. I lost my car keys last summer, and lost. I just misplaced them, which is arguable whether they were lost or not. But I thought I put them anyway. I don't need to define what's lost. And so I immediately, when it happened, like I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to be able to get home. What if somebody needs me? I have a daughter who's 7. I'm like, what if there's an emergency? Like I'm not going to be able to navigate as easily. And my brain started, because we all have the gift of imagination. For some people, it's literally a gift, a gate in their chart, but we all have it. And so my imagination was just creating these different scenarios of how this is the worst thing in the world. And then I just asked myself one question when I realized that I was feeling constricted and I wasn't breathing. And I was like, why do I feel frustrated? Which is the not self theme. And I was like, okay, well, how is this happening for me? And it was in that little small shift that the questioning changed, and it made me be grateful that I have support. I could call a good number of people to come get me, to take me where I needed to go. I have a partner who's involved in my daughter's life, so it's not just on me if an emergency comes up. Like he can get there too, and so it really just made the situation calm down. And then originally, I found my keys in my backpack because I put them there before I left, and I didn't remember that I did that. But it was like that perspective shift.
I love that. We do get those we have those moments, don't we? I had one yesterday. My little girl's 8, so just a little bit older than yours, and my train was late, so it got delayed, and I'd already cut it fine if the train had been on time. So any little bit of contingency I had now gone. And I found myself going, like, really starting to overthink and overwhelm myself with it. And then all of a sudden I was like, what are you doing? You'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. You will get to her. No one's going to leave her. If you're a minute or two late, she's safe. She's in school. And as it was, I parked up and walked through just as the bell was ringing. So I was like, all I actually did was waste some moments of joy, catastrophizing something that didn't even happen. And I think it's easy for us to do, isn't it? Is to get into that space. But I love, as you say, it's about the reframing of the question. It's the asking ourselves that. But I ask myself, why am I so convinced it's going to go badly?
Yeah.
Why can't I assume it's going to go well? What is so being a bit more curious, I guess.
Yeah.
About the situation. So if for people listening and watching, how do they start this journey if they're feeling like that life isn't making that much sense for them right now, and they do want a better understanding? How do they start? What's that first step? Because I think the first step is always the most uncomfortable one, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it is. I hope that this isn't an uncomfortable first step, but my recommendation is always to pull your human design chart. So I thank you for putting it up on the screen there, but on my site, you can pull your chart for free, and you can literally, some people, just finding out their energy type is like a breath of relief, a breath of like, oh, like there's nothing wrong with me. I'll give a perfect example. I do workshops every month, sometimes multiple times a month, depending on bandwidth. And I had a workshop a couple months ago, and I had someone who came, they had no idea what human design was. They pulled their chart and they found out that they were a projector. And so briefly, projectors are here to be these guides, to be these wisdom sources who are recognized for what it is that they're great at, what it is that their genius is. And then they're invited in to contribute that genius in a way that is not going to burn them out. And it's up to the projector to decide, which invitations are correct and aligned for them. And that's when authority and other things like that come in. But projectors, they really are served well where they are taking care of their body, they're getting the rest that they need, they're deepening their genius so that they can be ready for the invitations, versus generators. I'm a generator, and we are little Energizer bunnies. We will just go and go and go and go and go. And depending on some of the configurations in your chart, like we can just go and go and go until we burn out. And then we're like, oh, I guess I was doing too much. And projectors get to that, oh, I guess I was doing too much, a lot quicker than generators do. And given that like 70% of the population are these generator or manifesting generator types, and projectors make up like 20%, they are constantly comparing themselves to a measure, a standard, a way of being that's quite frankly never going to happen, because they're just not energetically built. So for this particular projector, he was like, this makes so much sense. And, he was at that point, I think he was like working a government job. He was trying to start his own business, like on the side, as we all do sometimes. And I think he had like one other thing going on. And I was like, your poor little sacral, like, are these all aligned to happen right now? Like divine timing. I love that you brought that example in of like, you walked into the door just as the bell was ringing, because divine timing is entirely a thing. I've done that so many times. And like you said, we just waste those moments catastrophizing. If we would have just like went with the flow and been like, I trust that I'm going to get there in time, like we would have arrived in that space a lot more, well-being. As how to phrase that.
No, I know what you mean. That kind of like, I guess calmer. So I felt myself in that journey, starting off being like very, very stressed and thinking about how she'd feel if I didn't get there, reminding myself of what it was like when I got when people were late picking me up, and I was like, we don't need to go there. You've never not been there on time. Today's not going to be the day that starts. So actually, you're going to make it on time. She's going to be absolutely fine. She's going to, she's going to be excited to see you and want to tell you all about your day. And just changing to think about that. When I got there, I was calm and happy to, happy to see her. And in that space, like you say, almost opening. I think we have to open ourselves up to the divine timing, don't we? And to. I guess for me, one of the big lessons I had to learn was to be willing to let go of my way, to not have to control everything, to trust that actually it's the path I'm meant to walk, but it's not my path to control. It's like, actually, I just need to be more open to the opportunities and to trusting your intuition. And that's easy to say and hard to do, isn't it? Because we've been told not to do that. Our intuition will be wrong, and therefore, our emotional brain responds 24 times faster than our thinking brain, and so when something happens, we respond emotionally to it based on what's happened before. But it's then how quickly we can get our thinking brain to step in and go, stop, change the question. I love that. That's kind of what you were saying in your example with the keys, is you needed to ask a different question. You needed to frame it in a different way. We need to be less accusatory about ourselves and more curious. I wonder where it is. And I love that you found them in your backpack. The amount of hours I spend looking for stuff that's exactly where I put it is quite literally embarrassing. Because we don't like, oh look, it's exactly where I put it. But I've spent an hour hunting around, and my little girl is even worse for it. We spend far too much time every week looking for her swimsuit, and I'm like, well, it'll be in the place of least resistance. She'll have dropped it wherever she was at the time because she wanted to get rid of it and like not do chores. But we. So how can we learn better to catch ourselves in those moments and reframe that thinking?
One of the things that's been helping me is, and it's like you said, it's a lot easier said than done, because we have this illusion, we've been conditioned really to have this illusion of control. And what I mean by that is many of us, we think that if we do the things, like going back to, in my story, if we, go to elementary school, we get good grades, then we'll go to middle school, get into a good high school. That's when you really straighten up so you can get into a good college. And if you get good grades there, it'll open your like work options or opportunities, and it's funny because it was true at a time. Like there's a little piece of truth to the conditioning. Like when we think about the industrial the industrial boom that happened, like so many people entered the workforce and started working with these machines. And if you could go to school and already have your degree before you entered the workforce, it did give you a leg up. Now pretty much everyone's getting a degree, and it's a very competitive market, and that system that we built is now crashing. And so we believe and we subscribe to these things, and we kind of like try and fit into these boxes that don't always fit us. When you relax into this experiment, because that's what it's called, it's the experiment of living as you truly are and remembering who you truly are, and not just who you were told to be, not just who you learned to be from your family, from friends, from society. And so it's been really helpful to just think about the core, the basics of human design. We hear it all the time. We're a mind, body, and spirit. And so our spirit, there's this mind-body connection, and human design helps with that mind-body connection because it helps you understand your beliefs and where they came from and how you can let go of some of them. It helps your body because when you live out of alignment for so long, dis-ease shows up in your body, pain shows up in your body because it's the only way that it knows how to get your attention, how to make you slow down. There are some people in like my spiritual communities and they're like, oh, I have a sinus infection again, like after like 2 weeks. And they're like, I know it's because I'm still pushing too hard. I'm still trying to, and they find that when they slow down, it actually does help. And so like when you think about like one of the core concepts of human design is that we have this magnetic monopole inside of us. It's a one-way magnet that is literally pulling us on this track towards our life and soul purpose. And it's bringing us opportunities, it's bringing us people so that we can use our strategy and authority to decide if those people are here to help us on this journey. The mind comes in and it's like, well, especially I've been running into this with all of the marketing knowledge that I have from when I was doing business coaching predominantly. And there's so many different ways to market. And so you pick this strategy and you're like, okay, if I do this, this, and this, because it was the way that I was taught, then the results are going to happen like this. And I'll be able to have repeatable success. And to a certain extent, that is true. But when you relax into whatever is going to unfold for you in divine timing, whatever is being brought your way, like I had a similar example to what you were talking about with the train. I had planned to get somewhere by 11 and the trains were just not in my favor. And I was really stressing, like this meeting popped up like 3 hours before. And I was stressing trying to like be put together for this meeting that just popped up on my schedule. When I got on the call, I was in the car and I was worried about that. And this other person is like on their phone, chilling in their office, like, hey, what's up? I just booked this call to talk to you and see if you can help me with this thing. And that like literally all of the time that I spent like going from one parking garage to another one to try and get, on the train in time, like all of that could have just been spent time relaxing. So if we just kind of relax into the knowing that it's an illusion of control, and we have sayings for it all the time, like, we make plans and God laughs or the universe laughs or whatever, but like actually it's true. It's just an illusion. What's meant to happen will happen. Whatever is supposed to happen, especially if it's meant for you, you can't miss it.
I love that. My nan always used to say, whatever's meant for you won't pass you by. And it is so true, isn't it? It does always work out. It does always go. And when we do relax into it and just be more open to it, then things go much smoother. Forgive me, Pudding's clearly wanting to join us and has got lots to say. Huds, stop barking at the neighbour. Honestly, he's barking at the neighbour. It's so embarrassing. But I think it's hard sometimes to do, isn't it? Because we get in that place, and it really resonates with me at the moment about the, you will end up being poorly if you're not listening, if you're not. I'm currently on my 3rd consecutive chest infection, and I know it's because I've not slowed down. I've not taken the time, and I keep trying to, but I'm not trying hard enough. I can go, well, I can still fit that in. I can still do these bits. I can still, make sure that I do all of it. And actually, in the last week, I've gone, right, stop that. Like, just do the things that need to be done, as in looking after yourself, looking after your child, making sure we get to school and what have you, and then take some time back, move forward. And I think it was that not wanting to disappoint anybody, not wanting to go, oh, I said I'd do this, and actually now I can't. And instead, what I realized is all I'm doing is having to update people on. They're like, you just don't sound like you. You don't. You sound awful. And I was like, thanks for that. And actually, what I could have done instead was just go, I'm just going to take some time back and try and rest and be confident, to your point, that what's meant to happen is going to happen anyway, whether I'm sat here. There was something a psychologists call positive procrastination. I'd love your thoughts on it. It was where it talks about when you're trying to think of something, you're trying to resolve a problem, and you kind of sit down, you try really hard, nothing comes, and you keep sitting there because your problem needs solving. And it says that what you should do instead is write it to yourself as a question, the thing that you're trying to solve. Write it to yourself as a question in a book, and then close the book and put it on a shelf and walk away, and come back to it a few days later and read the question out loud, and you'll get the answer. And that's because actually your subconscious brain is still working on it. It's still deciphering all of those. But I wonder if there's almost more of an element of it will come because it's the right time for it to come, that answer. And actually all you were doing, sitting there berating yourself and having the answer, was actually blocking the answer coming. It was stopping it from being there. Does that resonate?
There are some parts of it that resonate, simply because I am a proponent of, like, I understand people have, especially because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, they are the most idea havingest, like, inspiration. And so for a lot of them, I do recommend, because I myself have a little notebook where I will, or like a running, note on my phone where I will just kind of jot down ideas that I have, because, and this goes to one of our energy centers, our Ajna center, 7 out of 8 people have openness in this center. And the not self question that comes with that is, am I trying to convince everyone that I'm certain? And so we've been conditioned to, logic, analysis, et cetera, to prove that certainty. But like you said, intuition isn't always that way. And so for me, I don't even, sometimes, like, if it's an idea and I feel really good about it, I'll write it down. But if I feel like I'm just kind of mulling over a question, I have to first take a look at the question, because sometimes I realize that I'm asking the wrong question. One of my gates always asks why. And sometimes in the shadow, it's why me, or why is this happening right now? And what I have trained myself to do is really look at the question and look at what I'm asking, because sometimes it's just a shift of what's the bigger perspective here that can, like, cause me to think different thoughts. But mainly when I feel like I'm trying to figure something out, the thing that I check for is there pressure? Is there pressure, or is there this expansive feeling? Because if there's pressure, if there's constriction, and I feel myself saying the words, I'm trying to figure this out, I know that that's a clue for me that I'm not in alignment, because there is no part of my design that is figuring it out. Like, things are brought, like, especially because I'm a generator, things are brought to me in my environment that confirm something. perfect example. One of my clients, she was thinking about doing Lyft for a little bit, just to kind of make some cash on the side. She's thinking about being a surrogate again. And she had the thought just in her head, and she has sacral authority. So she could have made a decision about yes or no in that moment. I don't know that she did. I think she just said she had a thought. The next day she got an email from Lyft basically saying, like, we miss you. I used to drive for Lyft. I checked my email. I didn't have that email. So it's one of those things where depending on your type, like, we get so scared that nothing is going to show up in our outer reality. Like, especially for generators, we're like, but what if there's nothing to respond to? And the reality is, well, there's always something to respond to. We're responding from the moment we get out of bed. Like, I was responding when I made the decision to make this cup of coffee versus going to a coffee shop. Because if I would have felt that way, who knows, I might have overheard an idea and a conversation about something that I'm already talking about, that I'm already noodling over. And that's now confirmation that, like, oh no, people are talking about this. Go and do it. So that's like 3 different versions. I have an open ajna, so I play in all the possibilities of what could happen, but that's how I kind of handle that.
I love that. I think it's true, isn't it? We end up in the, you know, I'm at the moment, I'm writing my next book, and it's about curiosity and being more curious as a leader. And I found the amount of times that's cropping up in conversations. And just yesterday I went to an event, and the person speaking was speaking about curiosity with it. You're kind of like, okay, all confirmation that this is the right idea. This is actually what we should be talking about. But we don't always allow ourselves to be present to those prompts, do we? Those reminders that actually these are all letting you know that you're on the right path, that you're doing the right things. And I think it's that I think that we do now live in a compare and despair society, don't we? We see the seemingly perfect lives of everybody else and look at the messy reality of our own and find it lacking. And yet we're not on that journey. We're on our journey. So how do you encourage people to start to think about how they define what their new success is going to look like?
So I usually have 3 agreements whenever I start like a reading or a workshop or a session or something. The first one is actually to be playfully curious, like that childlike wonder, because that's how we should approach everything. The second one is confident vulnerability. I create spaces where you're not too much, you're not going to be judged based on like something that you say, because we realize that we're literally, like, I'd sometimes talk about the 12 laws. I'm like, we are all one. So you're judging that person. We don't create space for that. But like, if, for example, you're judging that person, you're probably projecting something onto them that you need to work on in yourself. And I love that, in A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, she brings this up because she talks about this lady who's at the nail salon and she's always loud and, you know, she just kind of tunes her out. But one day she shifted her perspective and she actually was listening to what she was saying. And she was hearing that, you know, her dad just really wasn't around growing up. She really felt like she had to like go for attention. And with that simple shift in perspective of understanding, this person now doesn't annoy her to the living daylights every time she's around. So that's the second agreement, is just that confident vulnerability. There's no judgment in the space. And then the last one, and I always say it's a little bit of an unusual one, is to just kind of leave your ego at the door. That part of you that wants to compare, that wants to, it's like that part of you that just wants to keep you small and safe. Like, just kind of leave that part at the door and just open to the possibility that you are a soul having a human experience. And this chart, this tool that we're using, is a way for you to look at your human experience and seeing, like, are you living true to yourself? Or are there areas where maybe you're kind of holding on to some beliefs, some limitations that you can let go of because they're not supposed to be there. So we have those 3 agreements that kind of set the stage. And any time, like, because they're set in stage in those containers, like, it really creates this space where people can ask those questions. Like I'm very much, someone asks a question about them specifically, how can I do this? I'm like, okay, let's take a look at your energy to see what supports that. So that's kind of just the space that I set in order to open it up. But per person, it kind of depends because I'm very custom that way.
I love that, because I guess it is creating a space, isn't it, for people to be able to feel safe to be vulnerable. Because it takes courage, doesn't it, to be vulnerable. It takes courage to be vulnerable even to yourself, if it's just to you. And I was just smiling because I find myself in those moments sometimes where you being judgmental. And I'm like, well, what's this actually trying to tell me? Like very often if somebody cuts me up, I'll be like, do you not know how to drive? And then I'm like, okay, why have you gone there? Why have you decided? They possibly were having a similar experience to the one you were having yesterday, and they're late to go somewhere, and therefore then perhaps not being as courteous, and you've got no idea what's going on in their world. So why are you so insistent on giving it a label so that you can... and I'm very conscious of it because my little girl's very often in the car with me, and I don't want her to start judging either. But as you say, it is very often picking up something in you, isn't it, that you need to look at and go, why is this frustrating me so much? Why is it even impacting me? Because some things are like, it's none of my business.
Yeah.
So why have I made it my business? But I guess you have to become very intentional.
Oh, can I give a quick example? Yes. So what you're talking about in being like cut off and I'm rarely cut off, but like similar how like a dog will see like someone and they'll start barking if they don't know them, or even if they do sometimes. Like it's one of those things where it's like automatic. And so when I'm in the car sometimes, like when I'm conscious, I'm a very courteous driver. But if I'm just on automatic, kind of autopilot, I've noticed myself kind of like, if someone is not like merging at the appropriate, I'm like, you had all of that lane to get over here. Why do you wait to the last minute? Like, no, I'm pretty sure I have the right of way because you have the yield sign. And it gets very principled. And I was like, what is that? And for a really long time, I thought it was my gate 51 in my heart center, which is like the willpower to be first. It's a very competitive energy in the shadow. And I was like, okay, that's the shadow. Let me calm that down. But I recently was looking at my gate 38, and that is the purposeful fighter. And in the gift expression, it's knowing what fights are worth putting your time and energy into, like what's worth the struggle, essentially. But in the shadow, you kind of pick fights that are unnecessary. And I was like, oh, I think it's both of those happening at once when I'm just kind of happening automatically. Because I'm like, who are you? I was here first. And it's like, that's a fight that doesn't need to be picked. And it's funny because I have this joke of like, it used to be if everyone at least microdosed psilocybin and like lowered their default mode network, like we would all be more peaceful, because like in traffic, usually the most traffic is like if there's a lane ending or if someone is merging onto the highway, because people have that mindset. They don't want to let them in. And so like finding myself in those situations is like, that's where my brain gets curious. And it's like, ooh, how many other people have this combination? Because there's even a gate of provocation. So like that even might be playing a mix in somebody's, like maybe those people who flip people off when they feel wronged or whatever. So it's just like these little interesting dynamics that you can really like dive into.
I love that, because we can have some really bizarre reactions, can't we, to things that go off, and whether or not we get really frustrated with them or just become more curious about them. It's like, what I wonder why that's really bothering me today. I wonder why that's even factored into my world. It is always that, the question I ask myself all the time is, what's actually happening and what am I making it mean? Because I find myself over here and I've created a thought and an emotion that goes with that thought as to why it's happening and what it means. And yet very often if I ask myself the question, what's actually happening, I go, it's not that. You've kind of wandered off on that journey and you've created your story about it. And now you're reacting to the story you've created as opposed to, factually what actually happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do that literally probably about 50 times a day. Because we do have as you say, we have those moments where we are on autopilot, aren't we? We're doing the things that we always do because we've always done them, and we're not doing it intentionally. We're not in the moment being that present because we spend a lot of our life not being that present, don't we? Just go through the motions. And what I've found in the last few years is I work really hard on being present. So that actually I find myself going, do you have any idea what happened in the last 10 minutes? Really, were you really thinking about it, or was it just happening around you? And so kind of just sitting in the moment and being observant of whatever's coming into my world. And it does make massive change, doesn't it? It makes a really big impact when you become the observer, not the controller.
1000%. It takes the pressure off and it allows for the possibility. That's what we came here to do, is to play in the possibility, to be the full expression of ourselves. I
love that. And I think, particularly as a mum, one of the things that I'm very conscious of is that my job is to keep her safe, but allow her to be whoever she's supposed to be, and not, not control that or obviously it's my role also to teach her things that will help her to stay safe and be kind and things, but actually she's here to be whoever she's here to be. And I look forward to every day to seeing how that evolves, to looking at where she's going on her journey and how they align. But it has given me many moments where I've caught myself in that the way I've been brought up in society, been brought up in, will dictate that the path that you go on, or where you should go, and finding those moments where you step back from that and go, just let her be who she is. Do you have similar with your daughter?
I do. And I was just looking at you this is exactly the type of parent I want to work with. So I'm level 3 quantum human design certified, and we had the opportunity to choose a specialty. So there was relationship, there was transformational, and there was family coaching. And I chose family coaching because I saw how some of the tools could help me reparent myself and help, entrepreneurs reparent themselves. But also it's family. So helping people raise their children in their design. And that's one of the things that Ra, the founder, he saw as a vision. So as I'm going through the certification, we're starting to learn, old beliefs versus new beliefs with this kind of energy alignment piece. And just what you're saying, I literally just heard that in a video a couple of days ago about we have these misguided things about what parenting is supposed to look like. And if my child is bad, then that means I'm a bad parent, and how that creates shame and guilt. And like you said, your conditioning comes in because you're well, I went through this, so I don't. And it's all of these pieces. And so yes, I have those moments with my daughter, and I love that I have this tool to help her, but also just you being a total model of human design coaching, parent.
Bless you. Thank you so much. And I can't believe we're out of time. I mean, that just flew. It's always such a delight to chat to you. For everybody listening and watching, you can get in touch with Diamond through her website, so diamonddripconsulting.com. And all the details are in the show notes. Diamond, it's been an absolute joy. And for everybody listening and watching, I hope you found it as inspiring and insightful as I did. And until next time, goodbye.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the elevated listeners' courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
Ever dreamed of hosting your own TV show, sharing your story with a global audience? Now's your chance to shine. At USA Global TV and Radio, we make it easy for you to create, host, and broadcast your very own TV show. Whether you're a storyteller, entrepreneur, or industry expert, we help you bring your vision to life. With our exclusive interview, live streaming, and podcasting training, you'll gain the skills and confidence to captivate your audience. Our global platform ensures your voice is heard worldwide. Join our community of creators who are already making an impact, one show at a time. Step into the spotlight. Host your own TV show on USA Global TV and Radio. Book your discovery call today at usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025 USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, visit usaglobaltv.com.
secrets for dementia caregivers with Tracy Cram-Perkins.
Hi there, I am Tracy Cram-Perkins, the host of the Dementia Home Care Show here on USA Global TV and Radio. I am also the author of the book of the same name. And you'll see this QR code. This is for an extended version of the same talk. So if you want to see the full hour-long version, feel free to scan the code and go to that website. Stick with me. We'll talk about 5 little-known secrets to make it a little easier to do dementia caregiving. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is a healthy aged brain, age 55 and above. The one you're seeing on the right is an Alzheimer's disease brain. It is in moderate disease. It is shrinking. It has holes in it. The memories that were in those holes no longer exist. When you're learning something, let's say in kindergarten, you learn how to tie your shoelace. Well, then by the time you're in 2nd grade, your brain remembers that information from tying the shoelace and applies it so you can learn more quickly how to tie more complex knots. So the brain is hardwired to do this for us, so it helps us learn faster so it doesn't take us long to acquire knowledge. The brain is looking for the information and they pick the closest to wherever that hole is. Let's look at some tips that we can use to help do that. These are 5 simple tools you can use as a dementia caregiver to help your loved one. The whiteboard is a useful tool in recording the day's activities and the answers to repetitive questions. The calendar clock is a very useful tool to orient your loved one on the day, the date, and the time, and remind them of upcoming appointments. The communication cards are a great tool to bridge the gap when they can no longer tell you what's wrong. And then there's the pill minder for when your loved one is still able to take pills but needs prompting. The final tool I want to share with you is the memory book. It tells your loved one's story. It's a great tool for distraction, redirection, also as a conversation starter, and telling you where they are in their story so you know how to answer their questions. Music is probably the most powerful tool in your toolbox after laughter. Music is a way to maintain connection. It sticks with your brain longer than any other thing, including reading. When you're having an issue with somebody, you can play their favorite music if you move them to another room, something that makes them happy, or you can start singing songs together from their childhood. These are some of my favorite books for caregivers. My show airs on the 3rd Tuesday of every month, and you can view past episodes on YouTube. Thank you, everyone.
This program has been brought to you in part by Tracy Cram-Perkins. Connect with her and order her book at tracycramperkins.com. For more information about Alzheimer's disease, support resources, and how you can help, contact the Alzheimer's Association at 1-800-272-3900 or visit their website at www.alz.org. They offer 24/7 helpline support and a wealth of information to assist you and your loved ones.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.